What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flocka with a convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through with a little bit of energy. So please hit that like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification for future fire content. And today, man, I think we're gonna talk about I'm gonna talk about the individual, the first person I plugged in with out in the streets. That was a Carnal, and Robert Chico Rose. And I'm gonna go into a little bit about my experience with him and whatnot, and just the type of character he was and, what he was doing at that time. Okay, so I parole in, I forgot what year it was, right? But sometime 2000, 2001. I tap in, I get out on the streets, I'm on probation. I've been given directives through Carlitos, Terrazas, and Wino Zarowski from Oakland, what to do when I got the streets. There was an established code to communicate. I was supposed to go out there, get a job, get my license, do all those things to maintain a low profile. And I was supposed to plug in with the regiment out there under the GOP, General Prisons, because that's one of the channels that Wino Zarowski was going through. Wino from Oakland at that time was supposed to take over the streets. And Ashley was holding that position until Wino got out, believe it or not. A lot of people don't know that. I've talked about it a few times, but everything was supposed to be passed over to Wino when he tapped out, when he got in. So as I'm there on the streets, I get out, I go through the motions. I start to establish my own place. I start to, get my license. I buy a brand new car. And next thing you know, I forward my information to Carlitos, my phone number. And everything's all good. They told me take as long as you want. We want to make sure that you're able to function out there in the streets, that you're ready. But to keep my ear to the streets of what's going on out there, and whatnot. So while I'm out there, I finally get a call. Well, it's from Daniel Ashley Lizard. He goes, hey, check this out. Whoa. I'm going to give you a brother's name. His name's Robert. This is who you're going to work with. But if you have any problems, you can reach out to me. He goes, what's going on with you? I go, well, I'm just chilling, man. Well, what can you move out there? I said, well, this is at the time when they had the BC bud out there. It was going pretty big out there. I think a pound was going for like 32, 35 some places, right? I said, the bud's moving big. Because I knew people that were out there moving like 10, 20 pounds at a time, doing $30,000, $60,000 transactions. He goes, so if we give this to you, you can move it? I go, possibly. All right. He goes, well, one other thing. He goes, out here in the streets, he goes, only no one can give the green light except for me and one other person. And he goes, you know who that's being? He's referring to Wino. So I get his number and I call Robert up. And at that time, I stayed on San Carlos and right there on top of Burbank Antiques, right? Right on San Carlos, man. And I find out that he stayed on Topeka, which was right down the street, man. I'm like, all right. But I was in the process of moving, so I go over there. I meet up with Chico. He stays in this small little apartment. He comes out, right, talks to me. And we're chopping it up. And he's like, so, whoa, Chico, out here, though, but I use a tier name. He used a tier name out there in the streets, like Soldier. I'm like, all right, Soldier. And so he goes, okay. He goes, what can you do? I go, whatever you need me to do. He goes, can you move product? Do you have any homeboys that use? And I told him, I don't believe in fucking spreading drugs to our gente. He goes, I believe in support to the gente. He goes, you will be supporting the gente. So in other words, he was giving me a green light to go out there and sell dope and whatnot. And at that time, I was a firm believer in the ideologies of the movement, the cause, the struggle, which was about self-bettering our gente. And that kind of took me aback for a second. So I'm like, all right. So I said, fuck it, I can move some dope. So I wasn't even planning on selling dope. I thought maybe they had some other type of work for me, man. Maybe fucking doing it. A hitman job or something like that. I had all these fucking things where I was still learning about, what I was supposed to be doing on the streets, right? And so next thing you know, I said, fuck, I can move some work. I started putting out fillers. And so next thing I call Chico up, boom. I go over there and you had him and the homeboy fucking Monster. They're making some fucking sacks. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, I met Monster. He's cool. He goes, at first Chico was like, okay, you're going to go through homeboy. And see, homeboy was a young head model that got pulled out there in the streets at a young age. And I ended up having a long extensive history with him as well. And So at first he was telling me, I'm gonna have you go through him to get it, right? Next thing you know, I'm bringing the money quick. Bam, bam. Chico pulls me aside. He goes, hey, homeboy's a good homeboy, but I'm not gonna have you go through him. I'd rather deal with you directly because I was moving the weight that fast. I never went through the homeboy. So we're out there, we're doing our thing. We get up to a certain amount of weight. I think a QP at that time was going for like six to $800, and it wasn't the raw crystal dope. We were getting the raw dope, then we're cutting it 2-on-1 at the time. I mean, they had some dope one time, looked like the Raider dope, Rosebud dope, all kinds of different shit. So I started moving a lot of weight, and I set it up to where I was learning how to do everything, right? I'd never really sold dope before, but I maneuvered pretty good, and I always felt like this, and this was a philosophy I lived by. In the beginning, you got to worry about getting your name out there, not getting your name out there, but getting established and getting your workers, and not worry about the initial, income to generate income. If you worry and sacrifice in the beginning, it's going to pay dividends in the end, because a lot of people get the dope, they get a little bit of money, they start spending, they start overspending. Nah, I wanted to build my shit up, and Chico's seen that. So next time I go over there, it'd be him and fucking Gato, the rapper Gato Maslow would be over there. They went to the gym and stuff. Chico was pretty big, man. But me and him started getting to know each other more and more, and I'd go over there all the time. We started barbecuing with each other, like say, that's where I met the homeboy Gabe Garachoa. My wife would be about the time I was dating my wife at the time. Not the wife I'm with now, but the first wife I had. I was dating her, and I'd go over there, and then, Gabe would be there, Garachoa, other homeboys from Salinas. I mean, I met the dude Flip out there from San Jose. Different people were out there. He was plugged in with everybody. And so me and him started to, get a little closer. We started becoming more like, I started doing more things for him, pushing more of his work than anybody else out there. Right. And at that time, it was around the fairgrounds. Me and him went to the war concert, which is a big thing in San Jose. We drove up, we parked the car over there right across the street at the auto body shop, which was individual Flip, who used to work with the homeboys. Sometimes he'd work with the homeboys, but then he didn't. He got wrapped up. So we'd go over there. I met them. I met all the people there. And, we'd leave the car right there and then walk across the street to the fairgrounds and shit, man. Go over there, boom, kick it. I mean, we met some bras that were fucking NF groupies at that time. Fucking went back to the motel, did our thing, and fucking, we became close. You know what I'm saying? He's all right now, but I'd be hella drunk and shit. I mean? I'd have to drive fucking home. He'd be fucking drunk. And I'm thinking, okay, at least I'm not going to be in violation, or, no, fine. And then one time, it was Cinco de Mayo, and I decided to go out with all the homeboys. Right? So we're bobbing about like 20 deep. We're about to pass Emma's. And I got about homeboys wearing red. I got homeboys from BN Man, with BN Man and VMLs with both hoods, right? Which are pretty much the same hood. And we're walking down the street, and there goes Chico. And he's right at Emma's with a fucking beer. And he's like, you know what I mean? He goes, what you doing, man? I said, don't trip, man. I got this. I did. So, Chico wasn't one that was, I heard that he was hard on a lot of people, but he was never hard on me. That's kind of what's interesting, because all the carnales that were allegedly hard on people were never hard with me. I had a lot of common sense. So a lot of things are going on. I'm learning how to this stuff operates out in the streets. You know what I'm saying? He'd give me some money sometimes. I'd be like, hey, I'm in contact with Woo, because I was in contact with Corcoran. He'd give me fucking the money. Hey, send this to Wino, send this to Carlitos. I'd send them in. Boom, boom. Right? I communicate stuff, right? And then finally, we hear about the news about a big indictment. So I come back to his house on Topeka, and we're sitting there reading the article and stuff, and he's like, he goes, fuck, man. And he's starting to stress out, right? But we just talked about it, right? He goes, what can you do? And see, I didn't know this at this time. There was a lot of people that had Chico under investigation as well. See, there was a lot of open investigations going on. Wino was conducting a lot of those, believe it or not, man. He had one on Skip and a couple other people, and that was due to Ashley passing through there. So I just was doing my part. I wasn't even trying to inquire too much. And about 2 days later, I go over there, and he shows me an FBI fucking card. He said they came over. And he says, we know what you've been doing. Do you want to help yourself? And he was going to the fucking window like he literally looked like a tweaker, and he was looking like that. And this has been about 7-8 months out there in the streets. Up until then, things were looking good. We'd fucking go over there barbecue. We'd go fucking to the clubs. We'd go to the fairgrounds. I'm like, man, I don't know. And so he's just tripping. I'm just noticing it, man. And when I grabbed some work from him, I'm like, fuck, man, because he used to have the work on him all the time. He didn't have no safe spots at the time because he was off parole. And see, previously, before that, before all this, we had a party at my house one time. And this is where I met the homeboy Chico for the first time. Chico came through with a bunch of hyenas. They were out at the club, and fucking Chico calls him up. You know what I'm saying? And when Chico comes through, I was like, man, I just met this vato. Because I met him at the fucking Eastridge. He was walking with Black Steve from 12th Street. And I noticed a star on his head. But I was playing the dummy role. And so he did not know I was a brother or I was plugged in or anything. You know what I'm saying? Nor did Black Steve. And when Black Steve found it out, it was all good. But it was funny because we were there drinking, smoking weed. Fucking, he ended up spending the night at my house and shit, man. I had to fucking let him use my room to go bang some bitch real quick. And this motherfucker would take off his shirt on purpose, right? He was pretty healthy, but he had an NF on his side just to show the NF and shit. You know what I mean? And I remember who was there? Fucking Junior, who later on became a Lencho's stepson. My homeboy Junior, fucking Chico, a bunch of us and shit, man. We had the whole house. Females were getting on the tables and dancing and shit. It was cracking. And so, that's the kind of character he was. Soldier was always down for whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or Chico. I never liked to call him Soldier, but that's what he used to tell everybody. I'm Soldier. So next thing you know, after last time I seen him at the house, he gets hemmed up. Operation Black Widow. And so then we're like, what the fuck? What to do, man? And I started kicking it with the one brother, man. And we ended up being pretty much utilized out there on the streets to go get all the debts, address any issues. And then we were assisting on locating people out of the area that needed to plug in with fucking brass. Because after all that happened, these dudes immediately went up there and visited. Okay. Now, I didn't know who I was supposed to be with at that time because Gato was operating things as far as, through Goose. He was being the communication, and there was another person that was communicating with Skip. Now, everybody over here is who I really was rocking with. This one dude I didn't want to rock with. So I would literally go pick up fucking Gabe from Salinas, right? Go pick him up. I go pick up my my future wife at the time in Watsonville, and then I go to Salinas, and he lived right there off of Prunedale on the outskirts between like Castroville and Salinas, right there on 101 freeway. You know what I'm saying? And I drive him all the way to Oakland to go visit Chico. And see, we didn't know it at the time, but Chico had already flipped. And so I was collecting money. Not only was I collecting money for the main, Carnales, right? I was collecting money from him, and I asked him who to send the money to. And he had told me fucking Silent Mendoza, Huete, and one other person, man. And when I ran to touch base with Wino, I didn't know Wino and Chico had issues. But Wino was like, fucking Huete ain't got shit coming. He committed treason, whoa. I'm like, okay. And I relayed that to Chico. And Chico was like, okay, not his business. Chico was trying to tell fucking Gay, for me, I did enough out there. You know what I'm saying? For me to step on back. I felt like I committed myself to this. I wasn't going to step on back. But in all actuality, there's two reasons why Chico may have been doing this. So one, because he liked me and he was looking out. Or two, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what his purpose was? Because he told on all of us when he got hemmed up who was doing what within his regiment. You know what I'm saying? They located him through the satellites and got him. And he immediately started cooperating. And that's how they were exposed to the things that Ashley was doing. Ashley was playing both sides at the time, and I think the federal authorities knew it, but they kind of turned a blind eye. He was selling dope and moving this and that. And I remember a couple of times he'd ask, Ashley asked you for a little rundown on what you're doing. And then while I was locked up, he sent me a letter. Chico did. He goes, Ashley had your whole rundown. So basically he was telling me that fucking Ashley had fucking, provided information about me, which I Came to find out later when I talked to George Collar later on that yeah they were they were actually fucking putting together a team to investigate me at that time as well. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as I found out that Chico was no good and Dreamer were no good on the same day. And people got fucking paranoid. Some people fucking flew out of state, abandoned the fucking their positions and whatnot. And it was a stressful time, man, because Chico knew a lot. And prior to this, man, Chico'd been involved in some stuff, man. He was involved in fucking removing Pee Wee from Gilroy. You know what I'm saying? And he had actually asked Dreamer Escamilla to assist him in that. I think Dreamer did. As well as some other things. Like, he'd been known. He'd been a carnal for a long, long time, man. He got off parole. And, I can't say I had a bad experience with him. Some people called him bullhorn, I heard later on, because he talked too much. But I never really had that experience with him, man. He was, like I said, I considered him a friend. And it was kind of fucking fucked up when he got hemmed up, man, because I knew I could talk to him about anything, and he'd give me the proper advice as far as in accordance to policy and procedures. You know what I mean? As far as out in the streets and in that business, But he was known as Salinas. He'd been around for a long time, man. A lot of people he's related to. A lot of people in Salas are connected somehow, believe it or not. And he's connected to people like Smokey. He's connected to people like Armando Frias. He has a big family as well. I think he's part black too, though, or a little bit black. I'm not sure. I think I heard that, which you can't really tell, but you know what I'm saying? Someone told me that. I'm not sure. But Chico was a good dude, man. This goes to the extent of my experience with him. Shouts out to everybody out there. I've been kind of busy. Not feeling good, but I'm feeling better today. I'm gone. Hope you guys have a good one.